Hello, welcome to you both. This is the fourth session that we've done today. For anybody who's watching it live, if you've kept up with us, well done. If you're watching this later, then enjoy it in isolation and do go and pick out some of the others that we've got going over the course of this year's Webfest. We're a small panel, and I think for the only one of the 12 we're doing, we're an all male panel, which is a kind of a surprise, but that's the way it's turned out. So, welcome to you both. So you've both got short films in our open documentary category. They're both up for best film. They're probably up for other bits and pieces as well. But let's kind of give you each the opportunity to introduce yourselves and give the kind of the elevator pitch for your short docker. We will talk more about them in detail as we go, so don't feel the need to say absolutely everything about them. Ben, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Keith. It's really great to be here. So thanks for the opportunity to be part of this panel. And it's quite exciting to be able to get a little bit of behind the scenes about what we do as the filmmaker to the audience. So I'm the director for The Adventure of Racing, which is a short documentary about a women's adventure racing team in New Zealand. Broadly speaking, there's some twists and turns that obviously made it the film it was. I'm sure we'll discuss it later, but ultimately, I think it was better the way it turned out with the twists and turns. And yeah, it's set up for best short film and best directing. So yeah, really, really pleased with the way it turned out.
Excellent. All right,
Cool.
Sebastian, tell us about yours.
Hi everyone, I'm Sebastian Kirbs. I'm a young filmmaker in Wellington, and I directed the short documentary Porniki Classical Sessions, which was about this group of young musicians who were trying to put on live events of classical music every week and destigmatize and like decolonize the idea of what it means to be classical.
All right, thank you. Um, I'm always interested in the hows, but I'm also interested in the whys when it comes to producing stuff for the screen. And I'm assuming, jump in and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm assuming that neither of these projects were funded, um, so it requires kind of quite a lot of effort and quite a lot of tenacity to get from go to woe on something that's unfunded. So, what was it about the idea? I mean, as you said, Ben, things change as you go. But what was it
Mm,
about the idea that you thought, right, I'm prepared to go there. I'm
yeah,
prepared to put the effort into seeing this idea through.
totally. What a lot of what I do. So being a filmmaker in the South Island, by design, I do a broad range of projects. And this was very much a passion project around the fact that uh, women in adventure racing sport are underrepresented, but almost hamstrung before they even get to go. And it gives it context in the film. But adventure racing is where you have four people and they go out as a team and they have to start and finish as a team. And the race could be over 5, 7, 10 days. And then they're out there in the wilderness doing everything from kayaking to rock climbing to trekking, mountain biking. In the rules for adventure racing, it's got to be a mixed gender team. And what happens across the board is that with a very few exceptions, you have three males and one female. And I was really stunned by this statistic, and it doesn't seem quite right that the women, as they say, some of them have quoted in the film as saying, "Oh, we're the token woman. You know, we have to be here for them to have a complete team." I was like, "Well, that doesn't seem right." From we're at such a pivotal phase in society talking about equality and equity. That actually, what could an all women's team do? And that was the kind of premise for the film and the impetus to show that actually women are badass. You know, they can go out and do these amazing things. So that was how it started. And I guess talking to them more and talking to other women and other female athletes, that really spurred me on to want to make this film and get some real passion behind it because it is something that's right in front of us. and we, in that field of adventure racing, they accept it as the norm.
Okay. And, Sebastian, for you, what was it that made you stick with it?
Well, I had some friends who were musicians who played in the sessions, and I went along to a bunch of the concerts, and I thought like it's such a welcoming, nice space. Like it would be great to film it and see what happened. And then as I did that, they then kind of announced that they were stopping. And so I thought that was just really sad that like this wonderful place for young people to experiment with music and art was just kind of coming to an end and nothing else was going to happen. So I decided to interview the people involved. And then because it was just me doing it with no funding and no support from like external people, I found it hard to keep the momentum going. And I kind of took about 6 months off in the middle of it and did like a bunch of other things. But I then felt like, oh, there is something here. Like what the people have said is really beautiful. The music is amazing. And I just felt like I need to just finish it. So I went and talked to more people, edited it all, which took a long time. But I think what kept me going was just thinking like I've put so much time into it now and it's such an amazing thing. And like at the moment, it feels like the vibe in Wellington at least is everything's too hard. Why not just move away? Like it's too expensive. But I just wanted to like reinforce this idea that it, uh, people can make a society better. It doesn't have to be like what the people in charge say. Like if we go and we play live music just for each other, then that's great. And we just need to keep doing that kind of thing. I don't know if that even answered the question.
Yeah, yeah. How did you find the shape for it? I mean, Ben was not necessarily lucky, but because it was about a race, there's there's a beginning, there's a middle, and an
Mm.
end to help structure the film. But for you, which was more kind of conversation based, and yes, it was kicked off by the fact that this thing might stop happening, which would have created a shape. But how did you determine the shape of the film?
I think a lot of the discussions I had themes and ideas that I wanted to like talk around, but I let the people lead it mostly and just prompted them to talk about something more in the direction that I wanted. But I let the flow of the conversation guide it, and then I realized that everyone touched on a lot of key points, and so I just kind of went where I felt like it was natural to go. Like when things were really happy, I had some more fun music to put with it. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I feel like the structure never made sense to me until the moment I finished it. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Well, as long as it makes sense at some point, that's
Yeah.
so Ben, did they having the structure of a race and different parts of that race, was that actually helpful to you, or um
Yeah, totally. I mean, like you said, I definitely had that as an advantage because it did give me the pinnacle point. And initially, it was in my mind, it was going to be a 3 act film, and the third act, or sorry, the second act is probably going to be the event itself, being the longest part. And actually, the way it turned out, the event turned out to be the fourth act and quite short in comparative to the rest of the narrative. And it still definitely gave me something to work around. The story changed obviously, and the lead up and the tale were different than I had anticipated. But I still had that one point that the audience knew we were heading for this point. Will we even get to there? And then once they're in it, will they actually finish it? So it did give me that groundwork to base a lot of the story around. So it's helpful for sure.
okay, if you were starting again, is there stuff that you learned along the way that you thought, right, well, I'd do that differently, not necessarily, anything that anybody did wrong, but just, out of the process rather than the content that you got.
I mean, undertaking this project on my own was mammoth. and I would definitely consider bringing in more people and trying to seek out some funding to make that happen. But the main filming occurred over these 5 days in the backcountry of New Zealand, where I basically did all of the race myself whilst carrying my own gear and filming. So that was challenging in the main, and being able to swap out with someone else and let them do some, shooting and producing would have been really, really helpful. But then you don't know if they're as invested as you are in this story, because there was a deep passion behind it. And I wanted to celebrate these women and celebrate what they do and share their story. So it's that thing, isn't it? If you don't have that passion, would you tell the story? Would you be as motivated as the director themselves? It's challenging. I mean, I'm not one for regrets. I don't like to have regrets. So I do like to turn around and say, well, I'm here now as it looks because of it, and I'm very happy with the way it looked. But I think there's always the what ifs I had. A lot of it usually comes down to budget and time. What if I had more people working on this and more input? I definitely had an amazing EP, which came into the post process. Joe Murdy was phenomenal at helping craft the story, because obviously the story changed so much. So yeah, it's definitely something I would always say, if you want to go far, go with others for sure.
All right. And Sebastian.
Yeah, oh, sorry, can you remind me of the question?
Yeah,
Just
what
wrapped up.
would you why about the clock? Know everything that you know now. What would you do differently?
Well, yeah, I think I agree with what Ben said. Like, it's kind of the process of doing it, you have to be a bit obsessed and almost mad to like keep going when you get so many reasons to stop halfway. Because like you're not making money, it's exhausting sometimes. But I think like the film itself is probably quite a good reflection of what I've learned by making it. But if I started again, I'm sure I would have a lot more to learn again doing it, and it would be completely different. But I guess, yeah, teaming up with more people is always great. Like I had a lovely group of volunteer friends who helped film the actual concerts, which like saved the day. I turned up to one of them and I forgot a hard drive, so we filled up all the cards, and I was like, oh no, the songs haven't even started. I've just got all the preparation. But luckily, my friend had a computer and we could sort it out. So collaboration was something I would probably lean more into.
All
Yeah,
right.
I think sorry, just jumping in there, Keith. I think I'd totally just echo what Sebastian said, that if you did it again, yes, you would probably do it differently, but the proof is in the pudding of what you've created is your learning. And I think that's what I am so drawn to by this industry that we're in, is that I see it as a craft, and I see it as something that you never achieve the end. You're always striving to learn. You're always getting better. I think I heard a podcast from it was someone up there, it may have even been Spielberg, who said that he walked onto a set and he's like, I didn't know what I was doing. And he's like, at his level, to have that humbleness and vulnerability to say that, it really shines light on the fact that this is a craft, and it's okay to want to do something differently next time, because you'll do something differently again the next time after that.
Yeah.
Yes, there certainly isn't one way, is there? It's there's many ways to skin the cat, as the saying goes. It's in terms of people who are going to watch the film, who's your ideal audience? Pretend you're going to see a funder and you've got to pitch them and tell them, who this is for. Who would you like to see sitting there watching it?
Yeah, I think for me, definitely it's a sports orientated film. I think that immediately would be the main draw card. And also, I think people who are curious about societal changes of gender in sport, I think does have that deeper vein running through it. This isn't just a race film. This has a real story behind it, and it has people, and it has their individuality that shines through. And these aren't professional athletes who are paid to do what they do. These people who have normal jobs, families, lives, and they're out there on the world stage trying to do something quite spectacular. So I think, sports arena is my first thought. But I think anyone who's interested in just a deeper message about gender in our society.
Okay, and Sebastian.
Well, I think I have a problem where my main demographic I want to reach is people who think classical music is boring, and so they're not going to watch it. But it's more to talk about how like classical music is symptomatic of a larger issue of people gatekeeping and a lot of colonialism. But I I got a lovely compliment from a woman who works at a high school, and she said that her students would probably be super interested because apparently classical music is really popping off in high schools at the moment. So
Oh, wow.
I think that it kind of that makes sense to me because it's a film about what the future could be for young musicians and creative people in general, and like not worrying about failing or meeting the high standards that the world and universities put on you, and more just doing it to learn and have fun.
Okay, all right. So, where do you want to go next? Because obviously that's not been keeping food on the table and a roof over your head. So, what's the next thing that you'd like to get involved with?
So I mean, documentary filmmaking is interesting, especially I think in New Zealand, because there's obviously so many great stories to tell. But getting organisations behind it to fund it and trying to educate brands in a different way of advertising, I think is quite important stage of where we're at the moment. In that storytelling is more impactful, I believe, than the 30-second advert, which people will forget in 2 weeks' time, maybe less. So I think for me, it's more of a push towards the branded content, because I think that's where in New Zealand, I think that's where you do get a lot of funding from. Other funding streams, unfortunately, the current government has restricted a lot of those, which is less than ideal. So there is less money out there. But yeah, for me, more telling genuine stories. I'm working on another passion project right now about an artist of all things, and I just like telling genuine, authentic stories that have depth and meaning to them. And as long as I'm doing that for my life, then I'm happy, really.
All right. So, Sebastian, what's next for you?
Well, I've just, fingers crossed, put together an application for Jane Campion's film program, which would be great. But obviously, small chances. But I feel like doing that has got me in a good place to figure out what kind of projects I want to work on next. And I've got a script written for a short film based on my nana's childhood in the 40s, where it's kind of a mix between a fairy tale and a dark morality tale about poverty and war. But I think, generally speaking, I want to head into more narrative short films and just keep making stuff, even if it's unfunded, because I just want to get better and I want to learn more, and it's fun.
All right. If people, obviously, we hope that people will watch stuff during the festival, but in a general sense, this video and all the other convo sessions that we're doing will sort of live online on our Facebook page. So if somebody comes across this in 2, 3, 6 months' time, are they going to be able to find your film somewhere? Is it anywhere else?
So my film's still doing the festival circuit at the moment, so it's got a couple more of those to do. But then it will be a YouTube, completely open to public to be watched. Yeah,
All right.
See this.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, all right. So they'll be out and about, but the only place you can see him right now plug, shameless plug.
Yeah.
It is in NZ Web Fest, and if one of these pop-ups from Google would just stop appearing on my screen for a moment, I'm just posting the link into the chat on YouTube so that people know where to go and register. One of the posts that we put out, one of the social posts that we put out every day during the festival to try and encourage a bit of traffic is a post called "Who Do You Love?" and it's the sort of the most viewed stuff of the last 24 hours in the festival, and we've only been open 20 hours and 22 minutes at the time that we're recording this, but I did one this morning just to sort of start getting myself in the habit of it, and we've got close to 200 titles in the festival this year, spread across the podcast and short film and web series stuff, and over 160 of them already had more than one view in the first 12 hours. So that's excellent. So there certainly are people already out there and watching stuff, and I did of course check out the numbers for yours before doing this session. I'm not going to tell you what the numbers were, but I will tell you that they were more than 10 for each of your films. So there's already people getting to take a look at them, and we've still got a good while to go. So it's excellent as far as we're
Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. Congratulations for getting so many films in, Keith. It's amazing.
We try very hard with that stuff. It's we've only been doing short films for a couple of years, but I think there's certainly other opportunities for people who make short films in New Zealand, and Show Me Shorts has just closed recently, and they're kind of they're much more tightly curated festival than ours, not least because they play in cinemas rather than online, so they have to put together packages that will screen in cinemas, and only a certain number of those, so that they can give everybody a fair shot. We like to kind of keep the doors as wide open as we possibly can to get into the festival, because we like to try and create opportunity. But and if that in any way sounds like I'm saying we take a low standard of film, we very much try not to do that. And obviously by the point that your films have reached, which is the kind of the end of running for the best film award, then obviously those fields have narrowed quite considerably. So congrats to both of you on getting that far. And next weekend, or sometime in the past, depending on when you're watching this, we'll know who's won this category and all of the others. But so I would wish you both good luck for that, and say thank you very much for talking to us today.
Thank you, Keith. Yeah, really, really good to be part of this.
Yeah, I can't wait to go and watch all the films.
All right.
And the series and podcasts.